The room spun again as I tried to focus on the vegetables I was chopping for dinner. My fingers tightened around the counter edge, knuckles turning white as I waited for the dizziness to pass. It was the third time today, each episode worse than the last. "Mom," I called out, my voice shaking. "I think I need to sit down." My mother's exasperated sigh echoed from the living room. "Alice, enough with the dramatics. Your sister just announced her engagement, and somehow you've managed to make everything about you again." I was 26, living at home to save money while working as a graphic designer. My younger sister Olivia, the family favorite, had just gotten engaged to her college sweetheart. The house had been buzzing with excitement for days, filled with wedding magazines and constant phone calls about venue options. "I'm not being dramatic," I whispered, sliding down to sit on the kitchen floor as black spots danced in my vision. "Something's really wrong." Mom appeared in the doorway, hands on her hips. "Get up. We have guests coming for the engagement dinner, and I need those vegetables done." "I can't." I closed my eyes, trying to make the spinning stop. "The room won't stay still." "Oh, for heaven's sake." She threw her hands up. First it was the headaches, then the fatigue, now dizzy spells. "When did you become such an attention seeker?" My father walked in, drawn by the commotion. "What's going on?" "Alice is putting on another show," Mom said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "She can't handle that Olivia is having her moment." Dad looked at me sitting on the floor, his expression a mixture of concern and frustration. "Princess, you need to stop this. You're too old for these games." I fought back tears, not from their words. I was used to those. But from the intense vertigo that made even sitting feel like I was on a turbulent flight. "I need to see a doctor," I managed to say. "A doctor," Mom scoffed. "To tell you what we already know. That there's nothing wrong with you except in desperate need for attention." Just then, Olivia breezed into the kitchen, her new diamond ring catching the light. "What's Alice doing on the floor?" "Being herself," Mom replied. "You know how she gets when she's not the center of attention." Olivia knelt beside me, her perfect features arranged in what she probably thought was sympathy. "Alice, sweetie, I know it must be hard seeing your little sister getting married first, but this isn't the way to handle it." I wanted to scream. Instead, I pulled myself up easing the counter, fighting against the spinning sensation. "I'm going to the urgent care," I announced, taking unsteady steps toward the door. "Don't you dare," Mom called after me. "The Hendersons will be here in an hour for dinner." "Let her go," I heard Olivia say as I grabbed my car keys. "She'll come back when she realizes no one's falling for it." The drive to urgent care was terrifying. I had to pull over twice when the dizziness became too intense. By the time I made it there, I could barely walk straight. The nurse took one look at me and rushed me into an exam room. Hours later, after numerous tests and a concerned doctor, I sat in stunned silence looking at the preliminary results. The doctor wanted to run more specific tests, but she was already certain about one thing: this wasn't in my head. My phone had been buzzing continuously with angry messages from my family about missing the dinner. I ignored them all except one text from Dad. "Your mother is very disappointed in you. Come home and apologize." I took a shaky breath and typed back, "The doctor found something. I need you to take me to a specialist tomorrow." The response was instant. "Not this again. You've gone too far." I looked down at the papers in my hand, the medical terms blurring through my tears. For years, they dismissed every symptom, every complaint, every cry for help. Tomorrow, they would finally have to listen. What they didn't know was that this was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything. Not just my health, but our entire family dynamic. The specialist's office was waiting for my call, and the truth they would uncover would silence every dismissive comment, every accusation of attention-seeking, every cruel joke about my symptoms. But for now, I sat alone in the urgent care parking lot, holding my diagnosis like a shield against years of disbelief, and waited for the next wave of dizziness to pass. The neurologist's office was cold and sterile, but I felt a strange sense of comfort as I sat in the examination room. Dr. Stevens had spent 2 hours running tests, asking questions, and most importantly, listening. Actually listening. My father sat in a corner, scrolling through his phone, occasionally sighing to show his annoyance at having to waste his morning here. Mom had refused to come, claiming she needed to help Olivia with wedding venue tours. "Miss Palmer," Dr. Stevens said, returning with a thick folder. I've reviewed your urgent care results and completed my initial assessment. I need you to understand that what we're dealing with is serious. Dad finally looked up from his phone. Your symptoms, the severe vertigo, the progressive balance issues, the hearing fluctuations, they're consistent with a condition called superior semicircular canal dehiscence syndrome, or SSCD. It's a rare inner ear condition where there's an abnormal opening in the bone that encases your inner ear. I felt tears of relief sliding down my cheeks. Finally, someone was telling me I wasn't crazy. That's impossible, my father interrupted. She's just stressed about her sister's wedding. Maybe needs some anxiety medication. Dr. Stevens turned to him, her expression firm. Mr. Palmer, I'm looking at your daughter's CT scan. This isn't stress or anxiety. This is a structural problem in her skull that's been developing for years. The symptoms she's described, feeling like the room is spinning, hearing her own footsteps too loudly, feeling disoriented. These are classic signs we look for. She pulled up images on her computer screen. See this area here? This opening shouldn't exist. Every time Alice moves, walks, or even speaks, it's affecting her balance system. It's like having a hole in your balance center. My father's face paled as he looked at the scan. But she's always been dramatic about little things. Little things. I finally spoke up, my voice trembling. Dad, I couldn't drive to work last week because the world wouldn't stop spinning. I can hear my own eyeballs moving. Do you know what that's like? Dr. Stevens placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. This condition is often misdiagnosed or dismissed, especially in younger patients. But left untreated, it can lead to severe complications. Alice needs surgery. The word surgery hung heavy in the air. I'm recommending we schedule the procedure as soon as possible. The recovery will take several months, and she'll need significant support during that time. Dad sat there, stunned into silence. His phone buzzed, probably Mom asking why we weren't home yet. But for the first time, he didn't reach for it. I'll give you both a moment, Dr. Stevens said, stepping out. The silence stretched between us until my father finally spoke, his voice unusually small. Why did you tell us it was this bad? I couldn't hold back my bitter laugh. I tried, Dad. For months, I tried. But Mom said I was copying Aunt Sarah's medical problems for attention. Olivia told everyone I was jealous of her engagement. You all treated me like I was making it up. He rubbed his face with his hands, suddenly looking older. I thought. You thought what? That I'd make myself stumble in public for fun. That I choose to feel like I'm on a spinning carnival ride 24/7. Princess, I'm sorry, he whispered. Don't. I cut him off. Don't call me that. Not now. Not after you all made me feel like I was losing my mind. My phone lit up with a text from Olivia. Mom's furious you're ruining another wedding planning day with your medical drama. Real classy, sis. I showed it to Dad. This is what I've been dealing with. Every day, from all of you. He read the message, and I saw something crack in his expression. I'll talk to them, he said finally. We'll figure this out. No, I said, standing up carefully as another wave of dizziness hit. I'm going to stay with Aunt Sarah until the surgery. She actually believes me when I say something's wrong. Alice, please. I need to focus on getting better, Dad. I can't do that while constantly defending myself against Mom's accusations or Olivia's snide comments. I just can't. Dr. Stevens returned with scheduling paperwork and medication prescriptions. As she explained the pre-surgery procedures, I could see my father texting rapidly, probably to my mother. I didn't care anymore. For the first time in months, I had validation. I had proof. What I didn't know then was that the surgery wasn't just going to fix my inner ear. It was going to force my family to confront years of dismissive behavior and twisted dynamics. But that revelation was still to come. As we left the office, Dad reached for my arm to steady me. I flinched away, catching myself on the wall instead. I can manage, I said quietly. I've been managing alone for months anyway. His hand dropped to his side, and in that moment I saw him finally understand just how much damage their disbelief had caused. Not just to my health, but to our relationship. The truth was out now, backed by undeniable medical evidence. But sometimes the hardest truth to face isn't the diagnosis. It's recognizing how badly you failed someone who needed you to simply believe them. 3 months after my surgery, I sat in Aunt Sarah's sunlit garden. watching butterflies dance around her lavender bushes. The world had finally stopped spinning, though my recovery was far from complete. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom. The wedding is in 2 weeks. You need to come home and try on your bridesmaid dress. Stop punishing us. Punishing them. That's how they saw my absence, as revenge, not recovery. What they didn't understand was that Aunt Sarah's quiet house had become my sanctuary. Here, no one questioned why I needed to rest, why I sometimes lost my balance, or why certain sounds still overwhelmed me. Your mother called again, Aunt Sarah said, bringing out 2 cups of tea. She seems to think I'm holding you hostage. I smiled weakly. Did you tell her I'm still doing physical therapy 3 times a week? I tried. She said you're being excessive, that most people bounce back from ear surgery quickly. Aunt Sarah shook her head. Your mother never did understand that healing takes the time it takes. The doorbell rang, and my heart stopped when I heard Olivia's voice in the hallway. Moments later, she appeared in the garden, looking immaculate in her pre-wedding glow. Really, Alice, she said, crossing her arms. You're still hiding out here. I'm recovering, I replied, keeping my voice steady. Doctor's orders. Well, your dramatic recovery is affecting my wedding. Mom's stressed, Dad's distracted, and my bridesmaids' photos won't be symmetrical because you haven't been to any fittings. Before I could respond, Aunt Sarah stepped forward. Olivia, your sister had brain surgery. It was inner ear surgery, Olivia corrected with an eye roll, which required them to go through her skull. Aunt Sarah's voice was sharp. Would you prefer she collapsed during your wedding? Because that's what your mother's pressure could cause. Olivia's perfect composure cracked slightly. I didn't know it was that serious. Of course you didn't, I said quietly. None of you wanted to know. It was easier to call me dramatic than to accept something was really wrong. But you're always, she trailed off, perhaps realizing how cruel her next words would sound. Always what? Looking for attention. Making things up. I stood carefully, my balance still not quite perfect. Look at this. I pulled back my hair to show her the surgical scar. Is this made up? Olivia's face paled. We didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't believe me, support me, or even try to understand. You were all so focused on your perfect wedding that you couldn't see I was literally falling apart. Tears filled her eyes, real ones, not the performative ones she usually used to get her way. Alice, I'm sorry. I know you are. Now, but I needed my family months ago, when I was terrified something was wrong with my brain. Where were you then? The silence that followed was heavy with realization. The wedding, she started. I'll be there. I cut her off. I'll wear the dress, smile for photos, and play my part. But don't expect me to pretend everything's fine between us. Healing takes time, and I'm not just talking about my surgery. After Olivia left, Aunt Sarah squeezed my hand. You're stronger than they ever knew. 2 weeks later, I stood in the church dressing room, adjusting my bridesmaid dress. Mom hovered nearby, trying to act normal but clearly uncomfortable with a new dynamic between us. Your balance seems better, she offered. It is. The physical therapy helped. You know, the sessions you said I didn't need. She flinched. Alice, we've apologized. What more do you want? I turned to face her. I want you to understand what you did. Your disbelief didn't just hurt me emotionally. It could have caused permanent damage. Dr. Stevens said if we'd waited much longer for surgery, I might have lost my hearing completely. Tears spilled down her cheeks, smudging her carefully applied makeup. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Please, can't we move past this? We can, I said softly, but it has to be on my terms. No more dismissing my feelings or experiences. No more accusations of attention-seeking, and I'm staying with Aunt Sarah until I'm fully recovered. She nodded, dabbing at her eyes. Your father and I, we've been seeing a family counselor, trying to understand why we did what we did. It wasn't everything, but it was a start. The wedding went perfectly, as everyone knew it would. I stood steady during the ceremony, danced carefully at the reception, and even managed to give a short speech. But something had fundamentally changed. My family no longer saw me as the dramatic daughter who needed to be managed. They saw me as someone whose truth they had denied for far too long. As I watched Olivia dance with our father, I touched the scar hidden beneath my styled hair. It wasn't just a mark of surgery. It was a reminder that sometimes the hardest battles we fight are for the simple right to be believed. My story wasn't about revenge or punishment. It was about recovery, not just physically, but from years of being dismissed and doubted. And as I sat there, in my perfectly fitted bridesmaid dress, I knew that while my dizziness had finally stopped, my family's world was still spinning from the wake-up call they'd received. Sometimes it takes a medical crisis to heal more than just the body. Sometimes it heals the way we see each other too.